What in tarnation?
Howdy folks, this is Applegeek, and it's another Saturday with another new episode, episode 16 of Season 7. Unfortunately on this one, I did have the title revealed to me a short while ago. I really do not like getting titles or any hints whatsoever about upcoming episodes, because I prefer to be surprised when things appear on screen that I'm not expecting. So, yeah, I'm not going to dwell on that. Just please be careful about revealing anything to me about future upcoming episodes. Sometimes it's even what you don't say, that if you say anything about it, but you say, well, I won't say anything, you are saying something, and I sometimes figure things out from that. So, anyway, I'm not going to dwell on that. I'll just say, since I know the title, it's Campfire Tales. I'd imagine it's a camping trip episode of some sort. We've had very few of those. The ones that come to mind are Sleepless in Ponyville and Legend of Everfree. So, that being in the Quester Girls universe. So I don't know if this is a Main 6 or Main 7 trip, or is it another CMC Big Sister thing, or something else entirely. I don't know. And telling tales, is this going to be a clip show or something? Flashbacks. Hard to say. But, yeah, I just wanted to kind of let you know what my brain had thought of on this so far, so you know where I'm at with things, and I'm not going to start the episode before I try to extrapolate anything else. So, episode 16, Campfire Tales, starting now. Definitely, Applejack Nap Bloom. Definitely a camping episode. Rarity's tent.
Tents are looking good, and we made good time today. At this
Whose
rate,
tent
we'll
is
be in
that?
Winsome Falls by tomorrow.
We should do the annual Big Sister, Little Sister camping trip
Sisters.
every weekend.
Then
Nice.
it wouldn't be
Oh, it's an annual
And
thing.
if we did it every weekend, it probably wouldn't be as special.
Exactly.
But the more we do it, the better we get at camping. Remember the first time we came here and Rarity had that ginormous tent? I heard that. I've
Yes.
gotten much better at roughing it, haven't I? Yup. This time we only packed 3 suitcases.
Rarity, stop.
I know what you're thinking, but I promise I only brought the essentials.
Like those
Really?
light thingies?
Of course. What is life if you can't make it beautiful?
There's a quote. Okay, Dash, where's Scootaloo?
These berries look good enough to eat.
According to my book, they're extremely poisonous.
Thank you, Scootaloo. I wondered about that. Okay, somebody's got PTSD about the last time.
Something, and I saw that creepy cave. I guess I still get a little bit scared out here, even after the last camping trip.
This is a complete callback to...
You got
Oh my
a
word.
big sister this time.
Yes! 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 Is it... Oh, is this going to be a Scootaloo episode focused?
This is gonna be the best Big Sister / Little Sister
Yeah,
camping trip
probably all of them.
ever. Ow.
Nice carrot dog. Ugh. Ah! Oh no. The heck? What is this, a plague? That was a fly that appeared to be shooting a spider web? I'm really confused. Okay, but no, the Big Sister's camping trip thing, a rehash of Sleepless in Ponyville. The season of callbacks continues. So how are they going to deal with this problem? Also, when that swarm came in, my first thought was Twitter mites, but this, I'm sure, is different. Okay. How can I deal with this pestilence? Ugh. That does not look pleasant at all.
Everybody run for cover! Don't get stuck in there!
Campfire Tales. Barry? New writers.
Now what?
Follow me, every pony!
Into the cave, of course.
Not the scary cave!
Oh no! I say now we know how Applejack deals with being
Terrible
hogtied.
bugs come from? And why did they destroy our camp. Ugh.
Sliders are from the Luna Bay area. Never seen them this far east,
Lighters?
though. Probably attracted to the food. Best wait here until they're gone.
Or the lamps, maybe?
Apple rot. What are we supposed to do now?
That's
We
probably
had
the food.
games to play and marshmallows to roast at camp. And here we got nothing.
Aw.
That's not entirely true. We have each other.
That's
Aw.
right. And if you girls want to, maybe we could tell some stories to pass the time.
Stories? I've got a ton of stories.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Spoiler alert, they're all about me and how awesome I am.
I was thinking more like campfire stories.
All right,
But we
Ash.
don't even have a campfire. I got this.
Wow, that was brave.
How, what?
It was no biggie.
Oh!
We aren't gonna tell scary
That was
stories
horrible.
like our last camping trip, are
How
we?
did you get the fire that quick?
It's bad enough just being in here.
Don't worry, Scootaloo. I was gonna tell you mine and Apple Bloom's favorite legend.
Oh, you mean Rockhoof? I love that one.
Oh.
He was so strong, and when he Apple Bloom, shh, we haven't heard it yet.
No spoilers!
Oh, okay.
See what I
But
mean?
it's so good.
Well,
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Rockhoof was known far and wide for his incredible strength. But he didn't start out that way. You see, Rockhoof was a tiny little fella, the son of a farmer.
Just like us.
Applejack's telling the
He
story.
lived in a village that sat at the foot of a gigantic volcano. And the village was
Ooh.
protected by an elite group of guard ponies called the Mighty Helm.
The mighty how? Oh.
Young
Yeah, like Viking
wanted
lore here.
Nothing more than to be part of the Mighty Helm.
Aw.
But he was told that he was too scrawny and weak to protect the village.
Like Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon? Aw.
But Rockhoof wouldn't take no for an answer.
Okay.
Then, one fateful day,
Nice
the
outhouses.
volcano erupted.
Uh-oh.
This is my favorite part. What happened next?
Apple Bloom. Hush.
Molten lava poured down the side of the volcano. And try as they might, the Mighty Helm couldn't figure out a way to save the village. They had to
Okay.
evacuate. But the village ponies didn't want to leave their homes. They spent their entire lives there. They
How
had
come? What do you
nowhere
got?
else to go. So Rockhoof
Wait, what?
decided to do something.
Did they just leave the women and children behind?
He thought if he could divert the flow of the lava, he might be able to save his village.
Better kick it into overdrive there, buddy.
A trench.
Wait a minute. All by himself? It'd be impossible for one pony to dig a trench fast enough to stop the lava. I mean,
I'm agreeing with
I
this.
couldn't do that.
Didn't believe in the word impossible.
Okay.
Continued to work, knowing the odds were against him, but determined to push through. Then, something magical happened.
What? What the? What?
Got visibly stronger, but the lava was getting closer.
What did he hit in the... Okay, well there's the overdrive gear I was looking for. Is this some sort of runic magic? He already had his cutie mark.
Through his extraordinary determination and sheer force of will, Rockhoof more than earned his
Huh.
place in the mighty Helm.
Interesting.
Good story, Applejack. Even if it wasn't about me. I love that story. No
I'm suspecting this is tying into the comics or
or
something.
Why don't we see if it's safe to head back to camp?
Oh, they got rid of their little...
There is no camp to go back to.
All the bite marks are gone. Ugh. Alright, waiting for stories 2 and 3.
All our hard work is ruined. There, sweetie bear. Not to worry. How? Our camp was so pretty and this cave is so...
Dreary?
not.
Oh, no. Not
Yeah.
true. There's beauty in everything. Even these blah rocks aren't really blah. If you look closely, you can see flecks of gold in them. And the way the firelight dances on the cave wall.
Okay.
Shadow and light. Oh, it's so gorgeous.
Whoa! That's some...
Sweetie Belle,
Yeah.
have I ever told you
That was the
about
Toilerita!
my favorite legend?
No.
How
I
did you
didn't
do
know
that, though?
one.
You
Her
don't have
name
to... Never mind.
Mistmane.
Mistmane?
Mistmane?
Isn't she the old wrinkly sorceress with the flower?
Yes, but did you know she used to be the most beautiful unicorn in all the land?
No.
So what happened to her?
Blunt.
Well,
Quite blunt.
Mistmane was a very promising young sorceress. She was as talented as she was beautiful and kind.
Japanese,
Love her, and missed her when
ethnicity.
she was sent to the finest magic school.
Oh, this is world building like crazy here.
While she was
I love
gone,
this.
she was delighted to find out that her best friend, Sable Spirit, was crowned Empress. She couldn't wait to return home once she finished her studies. But once she arrived, she was devastated by what she saw.
Oh, what happened?
What happened here?
The Empress happened. She
The
makes every
what?
pony work day and night on her palace. We don't have time to take care of anything else.
Well, that can't be. I know her. She would never do this.
That is an interesting horn design, by the way.
There was no denying what was in front of her. Sable Spirit took everything that was beautiful away from any pony else. And Mistmane was sure there had to be some explanation.
I'd assume there
Okay.
was too. If some pony told me either one of you two'd gone evil. Yeah, I'd never believe. I don't know. I've seen the way you two get when you miss breakfast.
Oh!
Just kidding. But I want answers too.
So did Mistmane. She went
Little
to
grouchy, are we?
confront her friend.
How are you doing that, Rarity? It's awesome, but
Sable? Is that
Lyra's
you?
feeling a disturbance in the
Don't tell me
force.
you don't recognize your old friend.
I don't. My friend would never work our families and friends to the bone for something as silly as a palace.
Silly? My palace is a beacon of beauty. Any pony who passes will be in awe of its majesty.
What good is a pretty palace if it just hides the misery of its ponies?
Beauty is everything. You taught me that.
I'm getting
What?
Coloratura vibes off
You were
her.
always the pretty one. You got to go to the best magic school. Every
The
pony missed
veil
you.
and whatnot.
Every pony loved you. I admit I was jealous. So I tried to perform a spell that would make me beautiful. You can see how that went. I vowed if I couldn't
That
have beauty,
kind of backfired.
take it. I wasn't chosen to be Empress, you know. I took it. Just like I'm going to take everything else.
I can't let you do that.
Nope.
Let me.
It is on. Oh, what? Wait, what? That looked like dark magic. Wow. Ooh. Dragon. Oh. Oh. What is happening now?
Every pony thought Sable Spirit was defeated, and that was that. But Mistmane knew there
But-
was more she could do to help. Beauty isn't everything, but Mistmane knew that it does have the power to make ponies smile. She made a huge sacrifice
Whoa.
to bring that smile back to her friends' and family's faces,
Oh.
including Sable Spirits.
She gave up her life force.
You did this for me, even after I was so cool.
Sable Spirit was so touched that she vowed to be more like her friend in the ways that mattered. From then on, she ruled with kindness and compassion.
Oh, the feels. The feels on this.
Even though she gave away her physical beauty, she dedicated her life to spreading beauty all over Equestria. Anytime you go out of your way to brighten some pony's day by doing something like giving them flowers, you're following in the hoofsteps of Mistmane.
It sounds like Unicorn crossing into Earth Pony magic.
I think she's my favorite legend, too.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. They're invading the cave. Oh, poor Scootaloo.
Sliders won't quit. What do they want from us now? Well, like it or not, we're food too.
And I've got the bike to prove it. What are we gonna do? They're almost here!
Oh, just... Okay, lock yourselves in the cave. That's genius.
What? Now those bugs can't get in.
And you can't get out. Oh, no, no.
Get out!
Oh, where the PTSD is real.
Let's all just stay calm. Let me relight this fire.
Yeah, and use up all the oxygen in there.
We just have to
Great-
wait until
great job,
the storm
Applejack.
moves on. Then we'll think of a way out.
How long will that be? Don't bears live in caves?
Is there another way out of that cave?
Scootaloo, you're focusing on the wrong things.
You have a plan?
Close. I have a story.
Of course you
Let me
do.
guess. It's about you? Practically. It's about my favorite legend, Flash Magnus.
But,
Wasn't he the pony who took on the dragons? Dragons? Big scary mean ones are like Spike.
Oh, these were definitely the big, scary, mean kind. But not
Okay.
too scary. You can sit closer to me if you want.
Oh,
A long time ago,
that's adorable.
before the Wonderbolts were even founded,
It's gonna be a gif.
Flash Magnus was a lowly cadet in the Royal
Flash
Legion.
Magnus. Oh, wow. Is this like the precursor to the Wonderbolts?
They fly over the Dragonlands to get to their comrades on the other side. But as they got closer to the dragons attacked!
Oh.
You said this wasn't too scary.
I said, if you just hang in there, I promise you'll like the ending. So, like I was saying, Flash Magnus and the Royal Legion tried to get past the dragons. But the dragons wouldn't let them.
Every pony, retreat!
Flash Magnus and a few other cadets were separated from the battalion. He managed to get away, but the dragons captured his friends and took them back to
That-
their lair.
The one on the right looks like the one that was the Dragon Lord. It's Ember's father. Whoa.
Commander, we need to save our captured comrades.
I appreciate your loyalty, Flash Magnus, but getting past those dragons is going to be impossible. Nothing will work.
You give up too easy.
The commander was right. You can't outfight dragons.
But you can outthink them.
Commander Ironhead, I'm
what
pretty
I've seen,
sure I
it's
can
not too hard
outfly
to
the
do.
dragons. If I can lure them into chasing me, you can all sneak into the lair and retrieve our friends before they get back.
Are you really willing to take that chance, soldier?
I am, sir.
It's a very brave thing you're doing. You'll need all the help you can get.
Is this the Titus? The fireproof shield?
It's protected Legion heroes for generations, and today, I can't think of a worthier flank for Natitus to protect. Good luck, soldier.
Wow.
Hey! Come and get me, fire breath! If you can! Hey, come and
That's
get
pretty
me.
bold.
Hey, I'm over here!
Nice. You get a little... yeah.
While Flash Magnus bravely flew for his life, Commander Ironhook was able to get his soldiers back.
Nice. Diversion.
Flash Magnus flew like the wind.
Surf! Oh, fire surfing! I can see why Dash really likes this legend.
But he knew he couldn't do this forever. Luckily, he had a plan.
Oh. Okay. We're gonna zap him with lightning.
He led the dragon straight into a storm that the Legion had planted.
Yes!
One taste of the lightning, and the dragons retreated.
Ouch. Kind of hope they would have fallen straight down, but oh well.
Flash Magnus's plan worked.
Nice. Nope, you keep it. That smug look.
Told ya! He always inspired me to be my brave and awesome self.
Oh, wow.
I guess he kind of reminds me of you.
You guess? Come on! I'm just like him.
I can see the parallels between all three of those legendary characters and these older sisters.
do you hear
I don't hear anything.
Exactly. They're gone.
Exactly. Those gosh darn flighters are gone. We can get out.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dash.
We're gonna have to see if we can get out the other way.
So there is another way.
Go further into the dark, spooky cave.
Scootaloo,
Sure.
just remember the story. Gotta be brave like me and Flash Magnus, okay?
Aww. Oh.
I hear
Got the
water.
wing around her.
And if there's flowing water, then...
It might lead to the way out.
They gonna discover something interesting.
Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3!
The sistering is real here.
Well, what do you know? We found ourselves
What main
a
Rarity
shortcut to Windsor
and AJ?
Falls.
Oh, it's never looked so
Wow.
beautiful. Well, almost.
Aww.
We sure are sorry that our camping trip wasn't what we hoped it would be.
Are you kidding?
It was better.
This trip is awesome. It is? We got to hear legendary stories and go on an adventure.
Wait, you three want to stay?
Of course,
Of course.
we do. We could turn those trees into a nice little shelter. We can get you some big logs and branches to help build it. And I bet we can find some more berries. Come on.
Gotta love that youthful optimism.
What happens next year?
Oh, wow. Oh, I'll have to go back and look at those voice actors there. Man, I wanted world building. I got a truckload of world building in this. Oh my word! The ethnic background of these different races and tribes is just Okay, I'm just real quick. I'm gonna see who the what was the any interesting voice actors' names there? Let's see. Nope. All new voice actors looks like for the new characters. All right, I am definitely going to be watching this a few times here to wrap my head around all this, and then I will definitely come back with things to say. Stay tuned. Alrighty. Well, this episode happened. After 4 seasons, we have a direct tieback to Sleepless in Ponyville from Season 3. Man, the season of callbacks continues. That's what this is. So fun to see a connection going back to that. It makes for a great, Sisters episode, great CMC episode, whatever. It's, well, more the sister, connection than a CMC adventure or anything. But, this is lot's happened in 4 years, or four seasons worth of content. An awful lot has happened. And I actually went back and watched some parts of Sleepless in Ponyville again to refresh my memory on some things, because I knew the general gist of it, but I was fuzzy on a lot of the details. And wow, that's they've come so far. You know, Little Phillies have come so far, and so have the older sisters too. Honestly, they all have grown an awful lot. And that was actually the beginning. I didn't even. This is one of the things I didn't really remember. That was the beginning of the sister connection between Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo. Scootaloo had, you know, gotten a compliment from Rainbow Dash about her moves, or, you know, fancy moves on the scooter, and, you know, she looked up to Rainbow Dash and saw her as a potential role model, wanted to be able to get to know her better, hang out with her, you know, maybe have her be like a big sister. And she convinced Apple Bloom to arrange, you know, to invite them to go along on this camping trip. I don't even know if that was... It was going to be just an Apple Bloom Applejack thing. I don't know if that was a thing that they would regularly do every year or not, or if it was just a one-off thing. But regardless, it got turned into a thing between the three, you know, sister teams. And now it has, according to this episode, it's become an annual event with the three groups. Which is fantastic. You know, it sounds like they've been doing this for several years now. So I love that. Love to see that connection and that growth too. And I get it. Obviously, you know, Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash have both done a lot of growing, and they've grown closer together. Most recently seen significantly in parental guidance. You know, after that episode, as far as I'm concerned, Scootaloo is more or less officially adopted by Rainbow Dash's family, even though they haven't said it on screen. That's my opinion at this point. And seeing where we came from 4 seasons ago, where that was just a starting thing, where Rainbow Dash was kind of, you know, taking her under her wing a little bit, to now 4 years later, and we've got the two of them, you know, calling each other sister, and, you know, obviously Rainbow Dash cares very much for Scootaloo and stuff, is trying to comfort her and help her out. I mean, the stuff at the end of this episode where she was, you know, like letting Scootaloo ride on her stomach, you know, floating down the river, and then, you know, carried her through the falls, whatever, you know, prevented her from getting wet, and just, oh man, the sister love is real in that. Well, and of course we saw them back during the Brotherhood Social too, you know, rocking that together. So I mean, they've done so much growing together. It's been a fantastic journey there. It's just fun to kind of come full circle on this. So I gotta move on from that. I do want to say I know I can already hear all the stuff coming from this episode from the fandom about, you know, Scootaloo's a chicken again and all these new memes and whatever. I'm sure I'm going to be seeing memes and comics and jokes and blah 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 blah. I get that. You know, I've chuckled at some of that stuff myself. I don't necessarily like us continually harping on her over that, because I don't feel like it's deserved. It is still a little funny to see some of these memes and stuff, but in this case, I don't think it's deserved from this episode at all, because, you know, based on the things that happened to her back in Sleepless in Ponyville, I mean, that was a pretty traumatic experience. Those dreams she was having were freaky. You know, between the ghost stories and then the crazy dreams born from those ghost stories, I mean, she was legitimately freaked out. And somebody that age, it's really easy to get a little kid freaked out like that. And that's, for some people, that's something that sticks with them for a long time. You know, I know I use the term PTSD during the reaction. I am by no means an expert on PTSD. I don't know, you know, all the specific, you know, ins and outs of what that condition truly is and involves. I don't know if I was using it, you know, maybe it's not right to apply that condition to this. It might not be quite the same thing, so I apologize if I screwed up on that. But the fact remains, you know, with Scootaloo, you know, just being scared of all this stuff and having kind of flashbacks and whatever, that's kind of what it felt like to me. I mean, the cave was like the worst part of that whole thing, and when she became trapped in the cave, I mean, she just started hyperventilating and freaking out. It's like, I'm now in this cave that's like this thing from my worst nightmare, and I can't get out of the cave, and I felt like she had a, you know, legitimate, you know, fear issue to work with there. Maybe a bit on the irrational side, but it's still a realistic thing that happens to people. So I like the realism of that, if nothing else. And Scootaloo is frankly no chicken. I mean, look at parental guidance. She slingshotted herself up to Cloudsdale without, you know, even being bothered by, the implications of what would happen if she missed, you know, falling back to Earth and getting herself seriously hurt, if not killed, and whatever. So, you know, she's done other, you know, daring things too and whatever. I don't think she's a chicken by any... I mean, maybe this is a bad analogy. I'm going to say she's about as much of a chicken as Marty McFly would, and he was not really a chicken or anything. So I'm not going to dive down the paths of those analogies there, and probably going to regret even making that one. But point is, I don't think she's deserving of it just from this episode alone. I think this is a real legitimate thing that she needs to deal with. I'm not sure if it's actually dealt with at this point. That was unclear at the end of this episode, but I did like the way that they at least got her mind off of that stuff by getting her engaged into these stories and whatever. That was that was fun to see, at least. So hopefully she'll now look back at this experience in you know, remember the good parts of it and be able to kind of get past that now. So anyway, I gotta move on from that. The stories themselves were fantastic. You know, real interesting look into the past of Equestria, their early days. I mean, we weren't given specific places, we weren't given specific time periods, so we don't really have anything to work with on that front. But what we did get a look at is some of the you know, cultural underpinnings of the three different races: the Earth Ponies, Unicorns, and Pegasi. And you can see some of those traits even in the present-day timeline, but they've never really gone back and expanded on that and shown what they were like before they were kind of a, you know, a merged society where all the races came together and shared their cultures. So, you know, here we got to see with the first one, The Legend of Rockhoof, the Earth Pony culture looks to be based off of the Norse Vikings and that stuff. I did try to look up a little bit on this. I got in over my head pretty quickly. You know, the whole Vikings thing, there's different Vikings that came from different countries, it seems like, and there are some similarities but differences, and I'm not going to get into all that. I'm not an expert, but just with the styles of their armor and the ships and whatever, my immediate thought was Vikings. So, and you know, Scandinavian stuff, all the stuff that comes with that. And it wasn't really much of like a moral lesson from this, just an interesting telling of a story, and it spoke to the characters', you know, work ethic, that's what Applejack took inspiration from, and Appleboom as well. Clearly Applejack has had a very strong work ethic. We've seen that numerous times throughout the show. Now it's interesting to see where she kind of got her inspiration from that and drew from on that. Some of these old stories, you know, really enjoyed it and wanted to kind of, you know, emulate that trait. So yeah, that story itself, it's a very interesting character. Like I said in the reaction, he reminded me of Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon. It's a scrawny little guy, is, you know, regarded as not being worth anything for, you know, actual like Viking. You know, instead he's stuck with grunt work and whatever. But this guy here wasn't going to let that get him down, and, you know, an opportunity came along. He did his best to try and, you know, save everyone, and somehow, this is still really unclear, somehow he like hit something on the ground or something and magically transformed into this big buff version of himself and saved the day. I mean, I get that that's part of a legend. There's always these, you know, crazy, unbelievable scenarios that go along with legend stories like that, you know, it's part of the intrigue and mystique of the stories. I get that. Just wish we would have got a little more explanation of what actually happened there. But yeah, still an interesting character. I do just want to make a comment to the effect of the thing with the ship leaving. I misunderstood what was going on in the episode. I missed the line a little bit earlier where they were explaining that the townspeople or the villagers didn't want to leave. That's why the soldiers left them. I thought it looked like the soldiers were just leaving them there. So that I was like, whoa, big problem here. But anyway, no, it's fine. I don't really understand the concept of I'm gonna die just because I don't want to leave my home either. That seems strange to me, but you know, who am I to judge on that? So I know things like that have happened in real life, so, you know, maybe it's a cultural thing, not really sure. But anyway, overall interesting story. Moving on, Legend of Mistmane with the unicorn culture. This one, in my opinion, was the best of the three of them by far. Clearly a lot of Asian influence in this one, a lot of Japanese, possibly some Chinese and other stuff. I'm, again, not an expert, but it did to me had a very Japanese type feel to it, with the building architecture, the outfits, The horns, I could be way off base on this, but the curved horns really made me think of like the curved katana blades. I mean, maybe that wasn't the intended connection at all. I'm not really sure. I'm, again, not an expert on swords either, but it just made me think. I thought there was at least one unicorn somewhere in FiM that has more of a curved horn like that. I looked up a couple that I thought were, and they're not. So, there are variations in the horns, different lengths and whatever, but I've not seen a curved one, I guess. So maybe there's one that I just am forgetting about, but so I'm not sure what happened, if there different groups of unicorns, or did the horn shape just change over time. Really hard to say for sure on that, but regardless, you have Asian influence there. And the story itself, I feel like there's a real solid moral in this story. Here you have Mistmane being kind of a symbol of beauty and whatnot in the land. And then she went away to school. Her supposedly one of her best friends, who didn't think she was beautiful, which I thought she looked pretty enough, but she didn't think she was beautiful, so she tried to cast a spell to become beautiful or more beautiful. Backfired big time, and she overreacted and took over everything and stole all the beauty from the land for herself. Very small nutshell explanation. But yeah, Mistmane came back and set things all right again. I'm very, very curious about the magic forms that we saw there. The dragon stuff was interesting, but Sable Spirit used the vines that she has, like the spiky vines she was using. Those look pretty much identical to the vines that we saw from the Seeds of Darkness back in the Season 4 premiere. So I'm very curious about what the connections could be there with that. And it came from a pot too, like it was from seeds. So I'm would love to know more about that story, or that connection. But clearly, Mistmane was an expert in magic. She had Sable Spirit outmatched. But the big thing here, this whole thing about beauty, the key difference here is Mistmane was all about sharing the beauty with others, and so that everybody can benefit from it, where Sable Spirit had become about hoarding it for yourself for greedy purposes. And Mistmane made a huge sacrifice of giving away her own beauty to restore not only her friends but the land and whatever, and share it with everyone again. And that was just an incredible moment, and just incredible feels in that. And I really think there's a good lesson to take away from that too. There's a lot more to beauty than just the physical. I mean, clearly there are benefits to the physical beauty and whatever. I get that, but I think the story is kind of an analog for a higher level concept than just the physical beauty. I think it's more about sharing. Just doing things for others that help them out and benefit them and make life better for them. I mean, it doesn't have to be, okay, yeah, you can fix up somebody's house, paint it up nice, it looks prettier, and they're all happy. There is that, and things like that are needed at times. But even just going out of your way to I'm struggling to come up with a good example here. But just in general, doing things that giving of yourself to do things that make life better for somebody else, that puts a smile on somebody else's face, gives them a more positive outlook on a crappy day. Like giving your umbrella to somebody when they're getting soaked in a downpour of rain or something, lifts their spirits a little bit, improves their mood, something like that. Just giving of yourself to help somebody else out and improve their day. That's what I feel like the takeaway is on that. So, and I think there's a lot of different ways that we can do that to others in our own personal lives. So, good lesson to be had from that. Thought I was gonna say something else. And yeah, just in general, I could see the connection for Rarity there. Rarity is all about making beautiful things and whatever, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that and whatever. So I could definitely see her taking a lot of inspiration from this. Rarity is all about beauty, but she's not the stuck-up snob type beauty. And she wants to share beauty with others and make others beautiful and things beautiful and stuff. So it's a very laudable goal. And I just gotta say, I loved seeing Rarity in this again. I feel like I've been talking about Rarity a lot this season. I don't know why, but she is like my least favorite of the main 6, but I just cannot get over how much improvement I have seen come out of this character in just the last season or 2 here. You know, looking at Sleepless in Ponyville, Rarity was just disgusted at the thought of going camping in nature, you know, and just she basically was forced into it by Sweetie Belle's puppy dog face. And then she drug, you know, this ridiculous amount of luggage with her, this ridiculous inflatable tent and with multiple stories in it, and just crazy stuff. And then making Sweetie Belle haul all of the stuff around too, which I took great exception with. Even here, Sweetie Belle's hauling her luggage, which thankfully is only down to 3 suitcases, but I still, that still bothers me. But regardless, she, you know, had a normal sized tent, a reasonable amount of supplies, and you know, she wasn't afraid later, like, just jump in the water and float downstream and whatever. I mean, she would have been absolutely horrified at the thought of doing something like that before. But just the big thing that struck me in this episode, when they got stuck in this cave, and Rarity's, like, I mean, she used to just be disgusted at things like that. And now it's just like, you know, hey, even these drab walls aren't so drab when you really take a close look. You know, you've got this, you know, this gold specks that make it look nice. That in itself is kind of interesting, but then she does this little shadow puppet show. It's like, hey, we can use the, you know, the wall to put on this puppet show and tell a story. And I still would really like to know how she did that puppet show. Even if you had fingers, I would have loved to see a Lyra cameo there, but even if you had fingers, you couldn't do what she was doing. So probably some sort of a spell or something, but how did she know about the Twilarena? That's what I want to know. How did you... Starlight, have you been saying things around the water cooler you weren't supposed to be saying? Oh, I love that little callback, that Easter egg there. That's awesome. But anyway, you know, it's awesome seeing the inspiration Rarity was taking from that story. It really shows that she's taking it to heart, you know, applying the element of generosity around, you know, the, you know, beauty itself and whatever. So that was awesome to see. Then on to the last one, very quickly here, Legend of Flash Magnus. Again, fun story, interesting character. Very, very easy to see why Rainbow Dash loved this guy, because, I mean, the two of them are practically identical. You know, you can see where Dash gets inspiration to really, you know, be brave, you know, have the bravado and whatever to, you know, rush in and do crazy things and stuff. You know, there's an element of loyalty there too. Like Flash Magnus was not willing to, you know, leave his comrades behind. He wanted to, you know, risk himself at the very least to go, and, you know, if there's any chance at all of saving them, he wanted to save them from the dragons. And that whole thing with him surfing the fire and whatever, I'm like, my word, I can totally see Rainbow Dash doing that. You know, that's almost a little bit of like Rainbow Dash with a little bit of Scootaloo too mixed in there because of the scooter thing. So that was interesting. Also fun to see that was kind of the precursor to the Wonderbolts, as, you know, the Royal Legion or whatever it was called. So yeah, obviously it would be a thing she would be interested in because of that. So. And, just in general, too, it speaks to the Pegasi culture. It looks like a lot of, like, Roman and or Greek influence. Again, not an expert, but that's what it looks like to me. And, like I said before, we kind of see that even in today's stuff, or have seen bits of that, like, in the Hearthwarming Eve story. But it's fun to actually see that in, like, a fully animated, you know, display to see that history. So, that was fun to see. Yeah, very, very fun looking into the past of Equestria. I know we've been wanting to see this stuff for quite a while. Fun to finally see it. Where we go from here, I'm not really sure. I was gonna say that this, one of the things about this ties into the Legends of Magic comics, and for once, I have actually bought the comics and have read the comics. I read them after watching these because I had somebody tell me, yeah, this ties into these comics. So I went and read them after doing this reaction. So I wasn't spoiled on anything along those lines. I do want to note that the comics are based on the show, not the other way around. because those comics, which I'd recommend reading, they're an interesting read. It's issues 2, 3, and 4 tied directly to these 3 stories, but they take these stories from the show and actually add on to them. We get to see more about what happened to these 3 characters after the fact of, after what we saw here in this episode. So, yeah, give those a read if you would like. And an interesting connection there. And I know there's more of those comics coming up too, so there might be more stuff coming yet this season that ties into some of these comics. It's a very real possibility, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens along those lines. Just in general, again, I said this is really kind of a world building, a very heavy world building episode, a little bit of character building, not so much focus on the lesson, but I did really like kind of the sort of indirect lesson, if you will, about what just in general happened to the sisters in this case. It had a very unexpected course of events that happened to them that kind of derailed their whole camping trip thing with this Flighter invasion. Never really was explained why the Flighters were where they were. I said, probably attracted to the food. That's a pretty weak explanation, but whatever. Not going to worry about it for now unless they come back later. It just kind of derailed their whole trip. They got stuck in this cave, telling his stories. But so it would have been very easy for them to just get discouraged and bitter about the whole thing and decide to just throw in the towel and go home. Say try again another time or next year or something. But instead they decided to focus on the positive. And I give the big sisters really credit for this of, keeping things going. Focused on the positive, started telling these stories with fun stories for everyone. Oh my word, I completely forgot to mention Apple Bloom was freaking adorable in this episode. I mean, the way she was just kind of spazzing out over the Rockhoof story. I was just bursting at the seams wanting to tell it and whatever. It was hilarious. But anyway, just focusing on the good stuff, and even like with Scootaloo, they had a problem calming her down and whatever, getting her wrapped up in this, but they were able to turn this around into something positive. They got to hear these cool stories and gain some inspiration from that. They found a new way, it probably looked like a shortcut over to Winsome Falls, and and then even once they got there, it's like after all this, like, no, we don't want to go home. We want to, hey, we can use these trees and build a shelter and blah, 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 blah. And, it seems they're talking about next year already and stuff. It's like, this is the best one of these ever. We've had a great time. And it's like, wow. Just being able to take a very unexpected set of circumstances like that, life throws you a curveball and ruins your plans, and to turn into something positive like that, that's a rare thing. It's hard to make that happen, and it can't happen every time. Sometimes when plans get ruined, there really isn't a whole lot of upside. That's life. I get that, but I think there are cases where there are also a lot of cases where if something doesn't go quite your way, it's like, oh, it's the end of the world. Your whole world comes crashing down, and it's easy to get depressed from that, discouraged, and lose sight of the positives. And if you can keep focus on what the positives are, sometimes that can lead to new things, new paths in life, new circumstances that you never would have had a chance to encounter if your plans had actually gone the way that you wanted them to originally. So there can very well be good things in that come from things that go wrong in your life. So it's very, very difficult to do. I fail at this miserably, like I'm sure a lot of you do. But this is just the lesson from that, I guess, is just don't let things discourage you too badly, at least to the point where you can't see the upsides to what has actually occurred, because you might miss something that way. So as I never know what might be around that bend. So. Yeah, I guess that's the takeaway in terms of lesson from this. So it's kind of an indirect thing, but that's just something that I kind of saw in this. So it's good reminder, good lesson for everyone on that. So, all right, well, I thought this was going to be a shorter commentary. It's not, so sorry about that, but hopefully I've shared some interesting insights with you and whatnot. And yeah, this was a very fun episode. I can't wait to see it's really hard to pick a best episode anymore. I'm not going to call this the best episode of the season. I mean, that's the perfect pair. That is going to be really tough to beat. But this was a very, very good episode. So we've got, how many episodes do we have left to go? 7, 8, something like that. Maybe more. So I don't know. I'm not going to try and count right now. But we've got a long ways to go yet in the season. So can't wait to see what's next. Thanks for watching, everyone. And I will see you again very soon. Later.